Hey there clan and welcome to Worth It or Not Reviews. In today's review, I'm going to be reviewing one of the most highly anticipated games of this year and probably a decent candidate for Game of the Year. We're going to be talking Fallout 4. Let's dive into this, shall we? So, I'm going to do my best to answer the question, is Fallout 4 worth your money, your time, and your effort? Because that's what's important when it comes to games. Now, of course, I'm going to try and be as spoiler-free as I possibly can, but I'm actually going to get the worth it or not part right out of the way in all honesty, because in all honesty, the amount of content in a Fallout 4, and any Fallout game, or any Bethesda game really, instantly makes it great value for money. Like, it's that simple in all honesty. It's worth it. It's worth picking up if you're a Fallout fan, and also it's worth it if you're not into the Fallout series. If you're into action RPGs, it is worth it. Now, that being said, I am going to go into more depth with my reasonings, and of course I've got to talk about everything. So first I'm going to talk, of course, one of the more important parts for me personally, which is the story of Fallout 4. Now, I'm going to be honest, my experience with the Fallout franchise is mostly with basically it started with the Xbox 360 and Fallout 3. That was my first ever experience to the Fallout franchise. I've never played any other Fallout game beforehand. I did play New Vegas, and in all honesty, Fallout 4 does have a actually better story than those two games personally. Overall structure, and I think that's mostly due to the fact that Fallout 4's story is about characters. There is no overarching story. The main plot is that you play a pre-war character, someone who was alive before the bombs fell in the Fallout universe in 2077, I believe it was, which, by the way, I really like that, the way we got to see a little glimpse of the world before the bombs fell. It's something I think Fallout has to explore at some point, is the world before the bombs. Like, even if it's just an intro sequence in the next Fallout game, just make it the first hour or so of you exploring the basic world of the Fallout before the bombs fell, even if it's only a year or two. I would kind of like that, even if it was just something simple. We did get a glimpse of it in this game at the start, where you choose your main character, male or female. I did both. I have a male playthrough and a female playthrough. I vastly prefer Courtney Taylor's voice acting, who voices the main female protagonist. She does an excellent job, and in all honesty does the main purpose of voicing the character, especially due to the sensitive subject matter, is the fact that you go to Vault 111. This is a bit of a spoiler, but it's kind of an all honesty of the story, and you are cryogenically frozen, basically. And then you are brought into the world 200 years later, but you wake up beforehand to see your husband or wife, depending on yours, and you basically shot, killed, and your baby stolen. That is what happens. That is the driving force of the main story, is that you as the character have to find out where your son is, who killed them, and why. Why did they kill them? Why did they kill your husband, and why did they take your son? That is the overall main story. But that's probably, in my honest opinion, that is a good incentive for a character to go and do this. But the Fallout, any game, the main story is always like a secondary thing, in my opinion. There is so much side content in this game, and side stories, companion stories, that it kind of gets drowned out. And there are, in my opinion, vastly superior stories in a lot of these side missions that you do throughout the game, and the companion ones. My personal favourite companion's main side story being Nick Valentine, who is a synthetic human being. That his story was one of the more interesting ones for me personally. I have done a few of the companion ones, not all of them, but I definitely like a lot of the side stuff more than the main story. And especially when this world with the story your characters come into, your characters come into this with fresh eyes. They've never experienced any of this before. They're learning the first time about things like the Brotherhood of Steel, and of course also learning about the synthetics and the Institute, which is the Institute in this world is kind of like the boogeyman of the world, where they kidnap people and replace them with synthetic human beings who are so indistinguishable from normal humans that it's nigh near impossible to tell if anyone is a real person or a synthetic without dissecting them, basically. And I kind of like the theme that they were approaching with this, like, synthetics, are they really people if they have free will? And that's something that is very touched on. It's nothing new in sci-fi media, but I definitely think Fallout 4 did a decent job addressing it. There's also, of course, ghouls and the various other side stories and the different institutes in there. The railroad, which is kind of like the synthetic railroad, which is where they take synthetics who have escaped the institute, basically give them a whole new life and relocate them. And that I kind of like that idea. It's kind of interesting. There's a lot about the story that I really like, and as I say, that's something that I think is very good about it. But I am going to say this right off the bat. While the story and the side stories are absolutely exceptional, the side stories being the vastly superior to the main story in my opinion, it's the ending in my opinion that lets this game down. And if you know me, this is my particular, the ending to any kind of media, games, movies, comic books, TV series, whatever, the ending has to make sense and also has to make me feel something. And in honesty, all of the endings of Fallout 4, I only did one of them, and then I went back and then I tried to do another one, and I didn't like it. The endings are just not that good. Even Fallout 3 and New Vegas's endings are good compared to this. The ending just does not feel good in my opinion. It kind of feels a little like you're put on a one set path and that's the path you have to take. There's, with all of the endings, there's 4 endings. I'm not going to spoil them, of course, but a lot of them feel very similar. There are slight deviations and slight alterations, but a lot of them just feel too similar, and I don't like the overall ending that you have to choose. I won't spoil it, of course. I might do a spoiler video later on, but I don't like the ending. The ending kind of ruins a bit of the story for me personally. But that being said, the story is still enjoyable, still fun, and there is a lot of heart into it, and there's also a lot of fun, and there's a mixture of emotions. I really like the story. As it is, it's just the ending that lets it down. Personally, for me, I know some people might like it. I don't like it personally. I don't like any of the endings personally. But as it says, it's mostly down to the voice acting that makes it so exceptional. Fallout 4, in my opinion, has the best voice acting in any Bethesda game I've ever played. Fallout 3 had decent voice acting. Fallout New Vegas had okay voice acting, which is an Obsidian game. But Fallout 4, in my opinion, with the introduction of a voice protagonist, I think Bethesda have realised that voice acting in their games has to be up to notch. And I think the voice acting in Fallout 4 is absolutely outstanding. I very rarely heard the same voice twice, and most of the time it was just Brandon Keener, aka Garrus, who is the most used because you will hear him a lot. But I think the range in voice actors in this definitely makes the game much more human in a way, so I did enjoy the story. Now, of course, I'll move on to the other aspect, which is the graphics, of course. The game definitely looks better than Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, but you can already tell that the engine that they are using is out of date. It is way out of date. I think, in all honesty, I think it's the same engine they've used for Skyrim and the previous games. They need a new engine. The game does look good. I'm not saying that it looks bad, but there were a lot of graphical issues that I came over throughout the game, a lot of bugs as well, which is understandable but the graphical issues were quite apparent in some instances. But I definitely feel that I think this should be the final game that Bethesda use this current engine that they're using in, and maybe use onto another one, because this one is definitely showing its age. It's just some aspects that just do not. The game still looks good, but it's obvious that this engine is nothing compared to other engines. I mean, comparing Fallout 4's graphics to like Dragon Age Inquisition, for example, Dragon Age Inquisition looks a lot better. But Bethesda, I understand, maybe they just like this engine. Maybe it's just because they know the tricks now and they don't want to move on to a new engine. But the game still looks good, especially the pre-war area that you're in. That looked beautiful. I loved that. I love seeing the colour and all that, and then going in from the pre-war to the post-apocalypse, where you get to see how this world has changed. I definitely like that. I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it and how it looked and the strash and the basically massive change in it, how it feels now, especially for the character. As I say, it's just, it does. I think they do need to move on to a new engine. Me personally, that's the way it seems. As I say, that's just me personally. If you like the look of it, that's fine. I'm not saying the game looks bad. It looks fine, but I can definitely see this game, the engine has aged and it is getting to the point where Bethesda need to move on and move to a new engine, I think, personally. That's just me. Now, of course, other aspects I'll talk about, of course, is the sound design in this one, or at least the musical, the audio is. The music in this game is fantastic, as always, not including the radio broadcast, of course. The soundtrack is done by Enon Zur, who you will recognise, of course, from the Dragon Age Origins, and many, many other games, of course. But he does such an excellent job with the theme in it. I absolutely love the soundtrack of Fallout 4. It does an exceptional job, especially when you're not listening to the radio. Certain scenes and all with various types of music. I absolutely loved the soundtrack in this game. It made sense. Of course, the radios as well are absolutely fantastic. I definitely think they're not as good as they were in Fallout 4 personally. Even New Vegas had better radio stations, because a lot of the music, while there were some new tracks as well, a lot of them were just reused in previous games, and I just think that they could have done maybe a bit more with the radio stations. There were a few of them, my personal favourite being the Silver Shroud one. I love that radio station, but you can't get that unless you're in a particular area. Excuse me. A particular area, which is a bit disappointing. I kind of wish that you could just get these radio stations all over the wastelands or something like that, but you can only get certain ones in certain areas. The only one you get everywhere is Diamond City Radio, which is alright. As I say, the host, there's a lot of quests I won't spoil, but I definitely like the soundtrack and all that. I definitely had a feel of it. I liked it. The main soundtrack is where it shines, though. I definitely loved it, and Leonzo does an excellent job. Now, I think that basically the last thing I have to move on, of course, is my overall experience with the game. Now, of course, this is a Bethesda game. It's buggy. There are a few bugs in this game. I came across one game-breaking bug in my entire playthrough, and that was when I was starting my male playthrough. It basically locked up on me. I couldn't move my character. I couldn't do anything with it, and I actually had to delete that save and restart the whole thing all over again. It wasn't too bad of a game-breaking bug, luckily enough, but it was a bit of a what the fuck, come on, Bethesda. There are also graphical bugs and a lot of bugs where you'll go through walls, jump through ceilings, you'll go to one area. It's a buggy game in some instances. It's not as buggy as Fallout 3 was, personally, I have to say, but it still had a few problems. The bugs, of course, you have to deal with them when it comes to Bethesda games, and I'm sure they will be patched out. And of course, if they do decide to bring mods to the console version like they said they are, then maybe we'll see an unofficial patch of some sort. But that being said, I did love this game. I did enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. The story, as it says, although admittedly I probably spent more time not doing the story or side quests than building my settlement. If you saw the video I did of my Casa de Warrior, I loved the building in this game. That's where I had probably my most fun. As I say, unlike on PC, I couldn't use console commands, so I had to scavenge so many parts, and that's something I think that does need a little bit of tweaking. Honestly, finding certain parts is just is a bit tricky, especially aluminium. I wish there was a nice resource of that, but I definitely love the building aspect. That's where I spent most of my time, building the settlements, making sure they're defended, building my own little fortress. It felt really good doing that. I actually like that as a new feature, and I do hope they keep that for the next game that they do. I absolutely love that, and I can already tell that modders on the PC are going to have a field day with that. They are going to have so much fun with that, I can already tell you right now. But I love that. That's probably my favourite aspect of the game, and where I had most of my fun in it was building my little settlements, making sure they're defended. As it is, the only problem I had with it is the fact that some resources were just way too scarce than they should have been, in all honesty. You could go buy aluminium in some places, but in all honesty, buying shipments of aluminium is so expensive, and unless you're a high charisma character and get specific perks, you will be scavenging every spare cap you can get in this game. I definitely didn't enjoy that aspect of it, the fact that money in this game, unless you're a charisma focused character, is very hard to come by beyond like picking it up and selling random stuff. Unless you're high charisma and take specific stats like local leader and the car salesman one, I think it's called, you will have trouble getting caps in this game. I did have a high charisma character with my male one, but even then I still had trouble with caps, and I think that's just a problem that needs to be sorted out. I can understand why they're going with that, as is with the new perk system, which I actually like, in all honesty. I can see why people don't like it, but I personally like it. It's just my personal opinion. But as I say, that's something I didn't enjoy about it, but I did have fun with the game. I enjoyed Fallout 4. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I'm still playing it. I'm playing through as my female character now. I end up finishing the main story with my male character and stopping about halfway through with my female character so I could make different choices. But I absolutely love this game. I enjoyed it immensely. I had a lot of fun. There are problems with that, I am not going to lie with you, but for value for money, you don't get any better than this, in my opinion. Like, no, of course, RPGs in general are normally great value for money, depending on the RPG. But this, I've put easily 40 to 100 hours into this game already, just sitting down, playing it to the wee hours in the morning, crafting, building my settlements, doing the main stories, exploring. I've put so much time into this. I absolutely love it. I enjoyed it. It's that much. And in all honesty, if you haven't picked it up, I would recommend that you do. It is a great introduction to the series as well. I would say that it is a good introduction to the new, for anyone who's never played a Fallout game before, and also it's good for existing fans to the Fallout franchise, who have, of course, who have been playing it either since Fallout 3 or beforehand. As I said, I don't know too much about the ones beforehand. But I would recommend it. I would highly recommend it. It's a great game. I had a lot of fun, and I definitely think it is good there. And of course, use on PC, you will be lucky when you have your mods. But I would recommend, if you have a good enough rig, to get it on PC purely for the mods, in my opinion. I do know they apparently are going to be bringing mods to the PS4 and Xbox One, but we'll see how that is implemented. But I love this game. I'm definitely going to be picking it up on PC for the mods in the future. But other than that, I think that's where I'll wrap things up there, and I will end this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like these and continue to support me, feel free to click that subscribe button down below. And of course, if you've played Fallout 4, what are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on it? How many hours have you put into it? And but do be spoiler free in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. As always, I'm Scottish Warrior 92, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now. Mwah.